listeners share conspiracy theories. You know what I mean? Like, it really makes me feel like we're making a difference.
I'm just glad that they have an outlet to go to. That's all I think about.
Yeah, exactly. We provide a service. It's a valuable service.
Who would have known, besides good old Joe, that there was a little niche for conspiracy theorist Christians?
Yeah, good old Joe. He got out in front of it. He tried to get out in front of it. But
I wonder if he's still tweeting on Twitter.
Yeah, I don't really, I feel like I'm so out of the loop, but I kind of like it, to be honest.
I know. You just shared something about Facebook censoring, like a poll. And it's like, at this point with us,
yeah,
Facebook censoring people matters as much as like Chile censoring us.
Know.
Like,
I
who
know.
cares?
I felt the same way when I saw someone on Gab was commenting about Twitter banning like 400 accounts. And the reason was because they undermined NATO.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
I laughed about that, but I was like, I mean, at this point, like, it's just hilarious. It's just too funny. It's just too funny. That the next, what are they gonna do next? Like, if you're against the $15 minimum wage, you're also banned.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Hate speech.
It's hate speech.
It's total hate speech.
Yeah, Twitter is going to be the case study on how fast the left can burn themselves out.
It's so true,
right? I mean, everyone's engagement's going down. They're going to get angry. They're going to try to be more cutting edged for their side, and
it's like, no, I really like the minimum wage increase, $14.50. No, it's got to be 15. It's got to be 15, or you are a hater.
Yeah, that's the number. That's the number, $15.
It's so funny because a lot of this stuff, I was talking to my brother, and I know we're a minute and a half into the show. We haven't introduced ourselves. That's fine. I was talking to my brother about this. A lot of times, like, that's how you kind of like get people to think. It's like, we're busy over here arguing on their terms. It's like, what should the minimum wage be? And it's like, once you're already arguing there, you've already lost, because there's no number that it makes any sense. So I could say $14.99, that's okay, but 15, that's too much. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, once you start arguing, it's the same thing with the death rate. Remember during COVID, it's like, what does the death rate have to be to have church? Right. 5% is unacceptable, but 4.99%, we could still have church and it's loving. Mm-hmm. It's preposterous. So once you start even arguing on those terms, it's like you've lost already.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we did that with everything, with public schools being open, the masks, all that stuff. Yeah. Oh man, that reminds me. Who cares about an intro? That's a Reformgelical AD Matt Williams. I was watching not By What Standard, but whatever the podcast is by the Founders Guide, the Sword and Trowel, and they had the wife on from the Canadian pastor who's in jail.
Yeah.
And he's in jail still, from now what I understand, because he won't sign a document saying he won't stop preaching.
Right.
Like, how foolish do so many pastors and Americans today feel that haven't done anything out of fear of the government, and now he won't even sign a document saying he won't be faithful?
Matt, I think, and I'm just spitballing here, a little inside baseball for the listeners. I think that's got to be our audience, those people, because I think there's a certain section like the John Lehmans of the world, that they just serve the state. They don't care. Like they don't feel bad about it. They don't feel anything. That's just whatever daddy government says. Mm-hmm. But I think there's a significant portion of people that are seeing what that pastor is going through, and it's hard to go to sleep at night. It's hard to look at themselves in the mirror knowing that they're doing this Zoom church, and they know they can feel the weight of like, pray for Pastor James, but at the same time they're like, well, I'm not doing diddly to help him. Nothing. I'm praying. That's great. But I have things within my power that I could do right now that I am not doing. Yeah. And it's like, I think that's a huge opportunity. Those people are feeling so uncomfortable right now. I think a lot of men are in that position, and that has to be our audience. And I think there's a sense we need to smack them in the face, but there's also a sense where we need to be, I'm going to say the word tender, even though that sounds so gay.
Gracious.
Gracious. Yeah. That's fine. That sounds way less. Yeah. I like that. Gracious. We do need to be harsh in the sense of smacking them out of their stupor, but gracious in the sense of there's a way out of this. Like, you can just start now. Yeah. Don't beat yourself up. It's a year you've been not meeting. That's a lot. You should feel shame, but there's a way out.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is a great insight, and we should definitely do that. Then the name of this show for tomorrow is going to be AD Thinks We Should Be Tender, just to let you know. But yeah, no, I totally agree. There's got to be people feeling so convicted, because even me, who's been going to church and been on the revolt side of this. I feel not necessarily bad, but I feel like I want to do something. I want to go over there and support them. Like,
sure.
So, yeah, I mean, for those pastors who are in ministry, who are not preaching in person, man, you got to be feeling terrible about yourself.
You got to get these guys backs, man. And I think the way to get their backs is just to say, we're not doing this anymore. We're going to meet, and, you know, whatever happens, happens. And to make it almost shameful to even oppose it at any sense. I don't think the government will ever, you know, not do what they're going to do, but it's possible that if you get enough groundswell of people saying, hey, we're just going to do this, and you're going to have to arrest us all, something could happen. And I think, you know, that's how sometimes opinions change. But as long as there's all these pastors that are just cowering in their houses, pretending to hold church over a Zoom call, you can have a business meeting over Zoom. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you're doing church over Zoom, that's pretend church. That's not real.
Yeah, right. Yeah, for sure. And I was thinking, because I've been saying this for a while now, is the left has no brakes. The world, the world itself does not have brakes. Not just like the left politically, but anyone who rejects God has no brakes. There's no control there. You're rejecting God. You're rejecting reason. All this stuff. And I was thinking, what is the brakes? And it's the church, right? I mean, that's what we've been taught, right? We're the salt of the earth. We're the one who preserves. We're the one who is preaching the gospel. We are the ones who are making the distinction between right or wrong based on God's standard. Like, we're the ones that are supposed to be doing this. And that just goes right along with what you're saying is like, it needs to be the church. It's no one else.
Right.
No one else but the church can stop this, because we're the only ones with the ability through the Holy Spirit to bring the change that is required. Because ultimately it's a miracle to save yourself from your sinful desires.
Look, sometimes we got to use the optics to our advantage. So I don't think they would do this. I think if every pastor said, I'm just opening my church, I'm just doing it. If everyone did it, I don't think that they would round up all of us and put us in prison. I don't think they would do it in Canada. I don't think they do it here. But if they did, we could take advantage of those optics so well. Yeah. So well. Look at these Nazis. Now it's really like Nazis. Call up Carano. Tell her they're actually rounding us up now because we decided that we're going to worship God. You know what I mean? Like the optics of that would be so terrible for them that they would be in a very precarious situation. They would have to come in full bore. They'd have to go full Nazi on us, and they might. But even if they did, we could still use that to our advantage, because I don't think most people will put up with it for very long. They'll put up with it, but not for very long.
Right, absolutely. I think the full Nazi thing happens when the church doesn't stand up as in unified fashion. Yeah. It's when they can pick you off little by little. They can CREC you. They can, split the difference and then get you divided. That's when I think the Nazis happen, as we're kind of seeing. We're starting to see us go in that direction. I don't think any of us wonder anymore about how the Germans could have let that happen, right?
Right. I don't think so. Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty darn obvious to a lot of people.
And so I think that is the play that needs to happen, and I hope it starts to happen. Because even if you just think about it from a spiritual perspective, like if we all got thrown in prison, like the whole true church went to prison. Think of that from the spiritual perspective. We're being persecuted. We're supposed to be joyful. That's going to be a time where we're going to be close to the Lord. We're going to be depending on Him. And it's going to be wonderful from our perspective. But then how many people are desperate for the gospel in prison?
Amen,
and
man.
They're going to have a whole church everywhere. There.
Oh, yeah, man. That would be amazing.
Right.
That's exactly what I was thinking. How many people in prison are closer to the kingdom than, people that are at, in Wall Street, living high on the hog and stuff like that. See, Jesus said people that knew their need, they were close, man. They were there. They were ready to hear that message. You know what I mean? Yeah. That would be amazing. I don't want to go to prison, but if we do, that's a new avenue for us. You know what I mean? That's the thing. They can't beat us.
Right.
What are they going to do? Like, okay, I don't want to go to prison, but if I do, we'll do some work there. I was just talking about prison today. Yeah, man. I'll start my own store. I'll sell ramen noodles and honey buns, and we'll be all right, man.
Yeah, right. I mean, seriously, like we have to think this way. And I always think about this from a business perspective, and this is how I coach people that are just becoming entrepreneurs, because you're always going to hit impediments. You're going to hit obstacles and hurdles, and you can either look at those as an ending force that's going to destroy you and ruin you, and it's over and you just give up, or you can look at it as ways that it's directing you to a better product. It's directing you to become more efficient as a company. You're solving problems and learning how to do it better. And we need to have that mindset as Christians, that if we get persecuted, it's making us better. And that God is directing us to do things for him in the midst of that persecution. It's not persecution that happens outside of God's will, but it's very intentional, and God is using it for a very specific purpose.
Yeah, here's Adele from Canada says, here in Canada, we're hearing so much condemnation of Pastor James right now. It's disheartening. I think, and I'm assuming she means from other Christians, because you expect the world, of course, to condemn him. But yeah, man, I think that there's a lot of loud, obnoxious voices that will be joining that crowd. But again, I do think that there's people that at night, when they look at themselves in the mirror after brushing their teeth, they're feeling that weight of their cowardice and their how do you put it? Just the way that they've abandoned their post at this critical moment. Yeah, and I gotta pray that those are the guys that have a change of heart, man. That's got to be our audience, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we gotta be praying for the work of the Spirit to be in these people to make the change of what Peter. I mean, that's exactly what it was. Peter wouldn't even stand up to a girl at the fire, but then when the Spirit came upon him, it may be getting a little Pentecostal here for you all, but then that's when he did the Acts sermon. Yeah, when the Spirit filled him. And that's what transformed him. And so that's what we need to be praying for, is that they will have the conviction of the Spirit and allow the Spirit. They will repent of their flesh and let the Spirit reign in them again. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, I just want to say hi to people because we didn't do that because we didn't do an intro whatsoever. Eve, hi. Mary, Men with Cool Beards. That's the new name of the show. Thank you very much. I'm getting kind of attached to this. I've been wanting to trim it a little bit. It really kind of grows on you like a child almost. You know, like a chia pet child on your face.
That's a little bit weird.
Hey, you're the one saying tender weird. Early on.
Well, the Bible says tender, so I'm just quoting scripture.
The Bible says beards. Thank you very much.
That's true. It does.
Yeah.
It does.
So I think the hardest part is the people that in your church that do condemn you, and the people that are being negative towards you, like people in your church. Like, how can you do that? I think that's pretty typical of ministry. Yeah. It's something that we have to deal with, but we have to remember that. I mean, Christ dealt with that constantly, right?
Yeah. I don't know about you, Matt, but people reach out to me and they've been telling me stories of different things going on in their churches and other churches in the area. And it's just, it's hard time out there for a lot of people, man. It really is. People are wondering what to do. Where do I go to church? Do I leave my church? My church hasn't met in a year. What do I do? It's hard times, man. It's hard times. But I know, man, what you just said about when something like this happens and there's adversity and there's things that you wouldn't choose yourself. They can't beat us, man. That's just God telling us that we're not doing what we've always done. It's going to be different now, but we still have a lot of work to do. The mission doesn't change. You know what I mean?
Right. Absolutely. Mary says in the comments, do you guys think more people are waking up to what's going on, or is that a fantasy? I don't see any evidence myself that it is happening. My church hasn't even acknowledged Pastor Coates' plight. It really upsets me. What do you think?
Yeah, man. Well, I think there's two things here. I think the social media algorithms, kind of skew things quite a bit as far as what's actually happening. I can say that I think people have kind of reached a tipping point. I think that the election combined with all the follow up to that and all the kind of think pieces from Big Eva about Christian nationalism being the devil, like I think that's woken up a lot of people to being receptive to hearing more about, our perspectives and things like that. I still think, though, Mary, sadly, I think a lot of people are still, for some God only knows what reason, and I do mean God only knows, they're still terrified of this coronavirus. I don't get it. I think a lot of people are still very scared of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think people have waken up in general more about just everything in life. I don't intend them to. But I do think that the people that are quote unquote awake, I guess the opposite of woke, but the people like us that get it and have a biblical worldview, I think we got lazy for a long time and just trusted other people to handle things and take responsibility for us. And I think that has changed, which I believe will have significant positive consequences going forward in the future. It's not that, oh, well, they didn't say something I liked, or they're preaching something that I think is like kind of heresy or not the gospel. But
Sure.
I'm just going to sit here. I'm seeing a completely different mindset from the people on our side saying, I need to do something and I'm going to take ownership. And that is more hopeful for me than people waking up and just sitting there doing nothing.
Yeah, that's a good point. So it's like maybe like the numbers of people awake aren't increasing that much. I think they probably are a little bit. So maybe the numbers aren't increasing that much, but the people that are awake are getting it more than they ever have before. I know I fit into that category because I feel like I feel like I saw a lot of the stuff that was going on last summer, last spring, whatever. But I was still kind of almost like in a complacent, not totally complacent, but like, this will get solved eventually. We'll be fine in, December or whatever. But I think like there's been a shift. It's like, well, this is not going to get done. I gotta start taking action. Like nothing's going to really change. So I just got to start taking some action here.
Right.
I think that people that are awake are more awake than they've ever been. So maybe the numbers haven't increased, but I think the activity is increasing for the people that that get it.
I know. I've already told this story once, but it fits right with this. Early on, when you came on board to the Fight Laugh Feast Network, I said, AD, you need to start branching out. You need to stop just specifically talking about critical race theory because it's eventually going to burn out. And I just take it for granted, like, oh yeah, it's crazy, it's a heresy, it'll eventually burn out and the good guys will win. But I was taking for granted that, no, we need to fight like this is going to destroy the church and stop having that attitude of, we'll just let it run its course. We'll let the crazies have their say and then it'll be gone and we'll be back to normal. I mean, that was me being completely different than I am today.
Yeah.
Because I didn't take responsibility, quite honestly. And I didn't realize how important and how crucial it is to be engaged in all areas. Like we have to be engaged in some level in all areas of our lives that impact us. And it looks different for everyone and which areas you emphasize on, but we have to be engaged.
Let me say this too. I have a good church and I'm so thankful for it. I know that a lot of people are in tough situations with their churches. I have a great pastor and, this is the kind of pastor that does take action and cares about the word of God and, learns from his mistakes, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And so like, he's very clear about, not only praying for Coates, but understanding that like, we all have to be willing to do what he did. You know what I mean? And my church shut down for a bit. They'll never do it again. They'll never do it again. They learned that lesson. And so it's like, he's not going to ignore that kind of stuff, and he's learned from his mistakes, and he'd be a man of action. There's no question about it. I'm blessed, and so it's easier for me to kind of go through the days and I've got to take action, no despair, all that kind of stuff. If you don't have a church like that, or if God forbid your church is closed because of coronavirus, I urge you to find one. Do whatever it takes. Like if you have to drive a little bit, that's what I do. I drive an hour to get to church. It's not ideal. Someone asked me in the comments the other day, like, how do you have fellowship with people that are our way? It's hard. It's not ideal. I wish I had a church in town. I don't. You know what I mean? So, but you got to do what you got to do. You got to do what you got to do to find a pastor that will encourage you, that cares about this stuff. It is like night and day when you have that. I've got, and the congregation's the same way. Not everybody agrees with everything, but they're all encouraging. They're not passing judgment. That kind of thing. It's just such a blessing. Every Sunday, at the very least, we get to hang out with people that get it. You know what I mean? Right. And
yeah, absolutely.
They're thinking on the same terms and all that. You got to find a church like that. I know it's not easy, but you got to start taking steps now.
Right. Yeah. Man, we need to go over those 5 points we came up with at Fight Laugh Feast Network sometime again and just really nail that home, because that would be really helpful with looking for a church and knowing who you can, or who's worth driving an hour for.
Yeah.
We'll do that sometime in the future. Here is an encouraging story that someone wrote on Gab to me today, which is along the lines of what we're talking about. His name is James. He said, I stopped attending my PCA church when the church required masks and limited signups for members to attend worship and ended singing. They also discouraged families with children under 5 years old from attending and started doing drive-through communion. No other local churches have stood up to the insanity, So I've implemented Sunday worship feasts for my family. Through all the madness, I've been disappointed in my local pastors and leaders most. But by the way, I found you through. Okay. But so he just took it into his own hands. He couldn't find anything. And so he started to have the Sunday feast with his family. And I pray that others will rally with him and join in where they can have church and fellowship together. And that's what made me think of the comment of, I don't know if more people are waking up, but we're definitely seeing people taking ownership for your family, taking ownership of your communities. And that's what has me hopeful and encouraged.
I would say too, that to someone like that, just make sure though that you're actually exhausting every option. Like, because the thing is, like, I talked to some people, like, and I'm not accusing this person of anything. So I don't know anything about this person who wrote you this message, but I talk to people like, I've tried to find other churches, and I'll just ask them like, okay, so what have you done? And it's like, browse on Google, stuff like that. like, dude, like, call every single church, right? Like, have a conversation with every single pastor in a certain radius. Like, just do the work. You got to do the work because it's important. Like, having a home church or whatever. I'm not saying that you're going to hell for doing that, but like, that should be like wartime last resort behind enemy lines. Like, there's nothing there. It should be like relying on your home garden to eat. Like, that's like last resort. If you have no other options and all you can do is plant a small garden, like, okay, then do it. You know what I mean? Like, you got to do that. Yeah. Or mealworms. You know what I mean? Yeah, you got to eat mealworms. It's like the last resort. But do actually do the work. If you can fix, and also, by the way, moving's not out of the realm of possibility as well.
That's
moving
true.
To find a church that will do this with you, because things are going to get harder. It's not going to get easier. They're not going to have less restrictions. You know what I mean? We're up to 3 masks now. Next week it'll be 6. So it's like, it's just going to get worse. So like, you got to find that support group, that group of people that believe in the scripture the same way you do. That will stand with you and will also call you out if you're out of line. You got to find that now while it's easier. Right. I know it sounds weird to say that, but it is easier now than it will be.
Yeah, like when you can travel now without a COVID vaccine passport or something.
Yeah, Mary says, frankly, I'd live in a highly restricted state if it meant I was in a good church. I agree. I think the church has to be primary. I don't think that most of the time that's the option you have to make. I think you could find better states as well to live in with good churches, but she's right. She's got the priority right. The church comes first.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good. I think Doug Wilson has also a list. I think it was a blog post. I need to find that, where it talks about how to find a new place to live if you're moving. And the church is number one, and then economics or business. I don't know what the order was, but I thought it was really good. I need to go get that again for all of us. Great. I'm getting bribed. Let's see. Thank you again for a super chat. You guys are the most. You guys are the ones who bless us the most with super chats. So thank you very much, Matt. At the end of the last show, you seemed surprised at some post-mill beliefs. I did. I recommend watching On Earth as in Heaven documentary on YouTube. I paid for this, so you must watch it now. Okay. Yes, I will do it. Since you paid, I will watch On Earth as it is in Heaven. Oh boy, watch! I'm going to become post-mill after this. We'll see. All over $10, which would be typically very Jewish of me.
You probably will. I got started on the path to paedo baptism with like a 30-minute video.
Did you really?
Yeah, it was like a 30-minute synodoc. And before you knew it, I was baptizing kids.
Oh my goodness! All right, so I wanted to start off with a conspiracy theory segment, and it's 25 minutes in, so I don't know if it qualifies to starting. Yeah. Welcome to Reformgelical, where the Reformed evangelicals meet. Okay, we're starting. The first segment is this conspiracy theory. Now, I have some video to show you guys, and so for those of you who are listening on podcasts, you really need to check this out. I think we're still on YouTube, we're still on Twitter as I know it, on the Reformgelical channels. I will post it on my Gab channel when I get time to, if it works. But this is really interesting, and this is something that a listener shared with me earlier today. And it reminded me also, I don't know if maybe you saw this, back in the day where Tupac, it wasn't when he was alive, but it was like 8 years ago at a concert that's really popular in California. I don't know if anybody else knows about this, but Coachella. Have you heard of Coachella, the concert?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's a big concert that they have in the Coachella Valley in California. And they did this surprise where they had Tupac come out and rap. And then Snoop Dogg came out in person. Like, he's been dead for 10 years. And then Snoop Dogg comes out as himself. And what it was a bunch of lasers and lights that created this 3D person. Do you remember that?
No.
Okay. So you could YouTube it. And you could just look at Tupac holographic. We're not going to show that because, you know, it's Tupac lyrics and this is a family show for a lot of people. But I don't know how I should do this. I have 2 clips. Okay, I'm going to do this first. So this is Julian Assange. And I watched this. And it says Julian Assange virtually escapes. And I thought that they were just making it seem like he got out of the embassy. So check this out. Nope, not that. I really need to get better at my transitions on sharing the screen. Hold on. Pretend I'm saying something interesting and I'm holding your attention. Okay, so check this out. I'm just going to do a minute of it. Or I guess it's a minute.
And then I suppose finally, and this is something that I thought about quite a lot when I was first released from prison, well, you know, I'm pretty pissed off. In fact, I'm very pissed off.
So for those of you listening, he's talking on a stool with another gentleman who's in person talking on a stool.
Hypocrisy and the duplicity of human rights standards.
AD's leaning in to really try to see what we can see.
Legal banking.
Isn't this crazy?
The situation with Chelsea Manning being tortured, sentenced to 35 years. I'm really, really pissed off. I'm being really, really pissed off.
Okay, I'll just stop it there. So if you didn't see, or I didn't tee this up the way I did, you would never think that Julian Assange is not there.
You know, that can keep you going.
At all.
Like
and help you
Right. All right, I'm going to stop this. And now I'm going to show you the guy who's demoing the technology, and I'll show you just a minute of this. It's blew my mind to think about where we are with technology today. I'm going to share the audio. Boom. Okay, I'm going to do a minute of this one.
About the hologram effect and hologram illusion industry is the ability to beam anybody from anywhere to anywhere in real time. So what we've decided to do was we shrunk these giant hologram stage apparatus from big arena stage pieces into what you see right here. This is Portal. It's the size of a vending machine. It fits in the corner of a room and it beams in a 4K resolution image in real time. You can create, you could beam anybody from anywhere to anywhere in real time. And when you're looking into the camera, you're looking into your audience's eyes. So if you're an educator, or if you're a politician,
if you're an educator, a politician,
or a religious leader, you could beam from the safety and security of your own campaign headquarters, or from your own judges' chambers, or wherever you are.
That's what Palpatine used to do.
Yeah, right?
Emperor Palpatine. He was the pioneer here.
Yeah, I think that's a Star Wars character, and I think I know what you're talking about, but I'm not quite sure.
And you don't care.
And I don't care. But so that guy, he goes on to say that his technology is what did the Julian Assange thing. So he was holographed over from his embassy to there, sitting on a white chair with a white background like he was in that second video. And he was projected and able to interact and see like he was there. And for everyone else saw like he was there. And my conspiracy is that a lot of what we see with government officials and specifically now with Biden is this kind of technology that's happening. And I think it's been around for a while. But so when we talk about green screens, I've always thought of it in the context of like what we do as podcasters. We'll put a green screen behind us and we'll have some cool like astronaut or background or whatever background we want. But we need to start thinking about like this kind of green screen, because if this is being sold and demoed in the private sector, what does the government have and what are they doing?
I don't like it.
Yeah. So this is my question to you. What are the odds, do you think, that government officials have used this technology? 100%, right?
Yeah.
100%. All right,
literally 100%. If there was a better percentage than 100, then I would choose that percent.
Yeah. I mean, it blew my mind. I mean, it blew my mind at first from the technology perspective, like how we got to this point. And he says that you, as the person being projected, can see and hear the audience like you're there. and then they see you and like you're there. Insane. And then it blew my mind again, or how many times has this happened with government officials where those, like, they've shown up, they've had an image in the background, they pretended to be at the White House and all those things. I remember Donald Trump during January 6th, he had his go home, be peaceful little 2-minute thing during the riots.
Right.
And it looked like he was out front of the White House, but then people started tearing it apart saying, yeah, but you couldn't hear any of the noise of the background of the rioters. You couldn't hear the noise and it looked like he wasn't there. And there was all this speculation and stuff. Like, I bet it was this.
But forget politicians for a second. Like, you could have dead people. Apparently Tupac was rapping, which I guess some people think he's not dead.
Yeah.
But did we ever talk about Cluck You, Pac?
No.
I don't want to get sidetracked, but there was a guy who worked at a chicken restaurant called Cluck You near my school at the University of Maryland, and he looked exactly like Tupac. And so there was a theory going around that it really was Tupac. He just worked at Cluck You Pac.
He just worked at Cluck You.
He was also a rapper, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was. He was terrible. Anyway, real quick before I forget, Nathaniel, the documentary was called "Baptism Is Not Enough."
Ah, is that the book or a documentary?
It's a book and a documentary.
Oh, okay.
It's in a doc.
Yeah, because I think I remember David. He recommends that to me every time he sees me. It's like before he even says hi, it says "Baptism is not enough."
Baptism is not enough. Yeah, it's good, man. It's good.
Yeah.
That's what got me down that path.
Yeah, I gotta say thank you to Austin. Appreciate your donation. Debbie,
he wants me to fix my wall.
Really appreciate you guys.
He gave us $5 so I could finish my wall.
Oh, that's great. We might be able to do it now with all that stuff. So yeah, but I mean, what you're saying is that is really interesting. Is
dead people.
Totally, they could. I don't know why they couldn't.
Why not? I mean, like, who knows who's alive, who's dead? Maybe Biden is dead. And that's why he disappeared for that week or so. But they were like mapping out his face and body so they could do these holograms whenever they needed to.
Yeah, possibly. Who knows?
I don't know. I've never seen the guy.
Yeah, I mean, because it's not even like you have to like dress somebody up to look like him. The computer files, I'm sure they can just transfer because that's all it is. It's a computer file, like reimagining it on the other end. Yeah, totally. Yeah. So that's probably happened, and it's probably going to happen in the future to a greater extent. So, all right. So the next thing I
talked about Bitcoin on my show today. Now everyone's making fun of me in the comments. Powered by Bitcoin, AD. That's why I don't like it.
Yeah.
Bitcoin powers the hologram.
Yeah, and no matter how many times AD talks about it, we're not accepting Bitcoin on the Reformgelical, guys. And
I'd take it.
I'd take a Bitcoin.
I would sell it instantly.
You're right. Although the guy who was on Cross Politic had a really good point about the volatility of Bitcoin, and it said that our dollar would be volatile too if we didn't have the Fed suppressing it.
Oh, totally. No, he's 100% right about that. Yeah,
right, yeah.
He's definitely the dollar is manipulated. It would be completely volatile if it wasn't manipulated. There's no question about it.
Yeah, you know what else is manipulated? All the stocks.
All the stocks, the silver markets.
Oh my gosh.
Literally everything.
I saw on Gab somebody. So for those of you who don't pay attention to this stuff, this is still kind of interesting, even if you're not into finance or investing. The Fed had some back end lending system go down where banks can lend back and forth to themselves. It's supposedly supposed to be to keep banks liquid, so there's not a financial crisis like we've had before. And that went down at the very same time that GameStop and several other of the stocks that the Wall Street Bets guys were cashing in on or investing in shot up the same exact time that the Fed machines went down.
Oh,
And I know it's true because I've lost a lot of money on
right, because you shorted that stuff,
I shorted it. Yeah, I was in the money. I was in the money by $20 below the strike price, and then I go back thinking, oh, you know what? I probably made an extra 10%, and I was lost like 75% of the value because it shot up to like $175. It was at $40 the same moment the Fed went off.
No, but that guy Jimmy Song, he sent me a Bitcoin book, which I appreciated very much. He's a solid guy. And I mean, it's a great book. You should definitely read it if you get a chance to pick it up. I like a lot about Bitcoin. There's things I don't like about it as well. I'm not like Peter Schiff, who's like completely anti-Bitcoin in every way. I don't feel like he does about it. But I do kind of fall like into the Elon Musk where it's like it's BS, but it's not quite as BS as as fiat.
Well, you know why Peter Schiff is against it? Because he has a gold company.
Because he sells gold. Yeah, that's what everybody says.
Gold. Yeah, of course. He really hates silver too. Silver sucks. There's no intrinsic value. Buy gold.
Does he hate silver? I thought he liked silver.
No, he probably does, but he probably has sell silver at his gold company too. Right? Dude, that guy has it figured out. He lives in Costa Rica. No.
Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
Doesn't
he
pay
got a sweet
income
deal.
tax.
Yeah.
Flew his whole company down there and moved them down there.
Yeah, they gave him a
everyone got a
pretty sweet deal
50% raise.
Yeah.
And I'm still, if they don't become a state, I still think that's the plan that we do. If we start getting all this persecution, we just all move there and don't do anything. Like we don't do all the isolation and masks, and we just take over the island.
A cut of the GME profits. Wow, look at that.
Wow. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Let's talk about GameStop some more. The rest of the show, GameStop. I think AMC was going up too, right? No.
Where did it end today? Where did GameStop end today? I was at 108.
Yeah, 108, which I mean, that's
so crazy.
It was down at like $48 a share or something. But Thomas, thank you. Seriously, that's such a blessing. I appreciate that.
It really is. No, thank you very much. But this is such amazing news. This is so weird. Why is this keep happening?
Even get mad. I can't even get mad. I lost thousands of dollars, and I can't even get mad because I want it to happen. I want the system to blow up now. I'm an anarchist.
Wow, you're just giving up. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I'm not. I want to blow it up so we can rebuild it. Just like Syria, everyone's blowing it up so the Chinese can rebuild it. I want to blow up our
I can't believe this is happening again. This is great.
Oh, it's so great. And so the theory is that the Fed was holding it down artificially and tanking it, right? So, I mean, along with Robinhood, who's already announced tomorrow that they're going to cut off the purchase of it again. It's like, who even goes on Robinhood anymore after this?
You gotta listen. It's all a big scam, but you gotta find a real broker, guys. Enough of this Robinhood.
I know. Oh, dude, it was not. I always get it mixed up the two. It wasn't J.P. Morgan Chase. It was What's the other financial investing firm that's similar to that? Morgan Stanley? Morgan Stanley.
Yep.
They sent out an email today saying, hey, come invest with us where there's no gimmicks. Like, that was a shot at Robinhood. And it makes me want to open my portfolio up with them, at least one of them, because that is brilliant.
Good advertisement. That's a good advertisement.
Oh, so good. So good. So I might be doing that.
That's pretty funny.
Oh, it's so good. From like Morgan Stanley, which is like one of the traditional,
you wouldn't expect a shot like that from them. I like that though. That's good.
I know, absolutely.
It's totally Illuminati move. No, just get out of
it. All right, so there's a few different stories going on that I was thinking today about, and there's a few. One, New York. Now you have to wear 2 masks. It's been the recommendation of the mayor, de Blasio.
Oh, yeah.
And all of this transgender stuff coming out. I even saw Mr. Potato Head is now no longer going to be Mr. Potato Head, just Potato Head.
Let's face it, though. Potato Head has been gender bending for a while. Like, you get a kid and they put the lips on the male and the hat on the girl. Like, he's been it's a gender bending toy.
That is very true. That is very true. But I was just thinking of all this together because we know that these aren't isolated events. Right?
No,
there is purpose for all of these things. It's working together to achieve a common goal. And we have the face masks that really take away an element of who you are, right?
Oh, totally.
Your face, when you look at someone face to face, it is meaningful, even more meaningful than how we're seeing each other face to face on digital platforms. It's more meaningful in person. And so there is something very serious and very real about never seeing someone's face again. And even double masks now, you really can't see them.
I always think about kids that they've lived I think about my son, right? He just had his 4th birthday last night. Mm-hmm. And so he's lived a quarter of his life. And in a quarter of that time, most of the people he saw in public, he could not see their faces. That is,
Wow.
what does that do to a kid? I don't know.
It dehumanizes people.
I don't know what it does to a kid, but I don't really want to find out.
Right, exactly. I'm proud that my 2.5-year-old and my baby under 1, they get scared when they see people with masks, because we make a point as much as possible to only go to places where masks aren't an issue, or where you don't have to wear a mask.
Yep.
And so they are still not inoculated to it. And I really take that as a point of pride. And seriously, because it is damaging our kids. Like, it's damaging everyone. It's dehumanizing each other.
Your 2-year-old, half of his life, he's seen people in public. Well,
Yep.
you know what I mean? Like, what, I don't know what that does to it. I don't know. I don't know. But it can't be good. It can't be good.
Not at all. And so that that whole thing, and then the isolation, the social distancing, don't go to holidays, don't go to church. Don't go to church. Stay by yourself. And then the transgender thing, that they're trying to take away gender altogether. And so they're removing every aspect of our identity from a physical perspective. Like, obviously, as Christians, we know that there's a spiritual realm, and a big part of us is our spirit. But from a worldly perspective, all they have is the physical manifested world. And everything they're doing right now is robbing us of our identity. They're taking genders away. I saw another article. I forgot who. I think I sent it to you, actually, so I can look. But there is it's California making a law to no longer allow you to divide boys and girls clothes in the store. Now, why is that? Why does that matter? Even if you're a transgendered person, wouldn't you, if you're looking for boys' clothes or looking for girls' clothes, like to have them in the same spot? There has to be something bigger than this.
Right.
Right? And so, honestly, like, all of this stuff, when you think about it in totality, it's making us like that one game meme that where everyone's the same face. What is it?
NPC.
NPC. I always forget that acronym. What is it? It's
non-player character.
That's right. Yeah. So the idea of is you go in to see the player, or you go in to see a character in a game, and they do one thing and that's all they do. Yep. And then you leave and you never see them again because they're not significant. They're a nobody. They're programmed to do one thing.
Right.
And when you think about that, they're taking away our face. We don't recognize each other anymore. We don't see each other's face. We don't connect. We don't get to see our families. We don't get to see our churches anymore. We're no longer a boy or girl, which our gender really defines who we are as people on so many levels. And they're really trying to make us that meme.
Yeah, they really are. They're trying to make us. They're trying to dehumanize us. I remember. Yes. I got ripped on Twitter by those gals that always rip everybody from Moscow when I said that the mask was dehumanizing.
The Federal Vision Hall monitors.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. But they were like ripping me like, "Oh, stupid is that? It's dehumanized me." And it's like, but it is though. Like it is. Like when you see a person, it's a good experience. Like to see a person's face. You know a lot about them. You know if they're angry or sad, or they've got the emotions. They wear their emotions on their face. You can tell a lot about if a person's a good guy or a bad guy based on their expressions and stuff like that. But if you're only ever seeing this is why criminals do this. Because you can't tell what they're about to do. Exactly. You know, sometimes what I used to do when I was wearing masks a lot back in the beginning, just because I'm a weirdo, is I'd make faces under the mask. Uh-huh. And I'd wonder if people could tell just by my eyes. I'll be like, they probably could, you know.
Well, when you do that one, yeah, they could. For sure, they could.
I don't know, man. That's what I used to do, like stupid stuff like that. Because why not? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly right. And it also, even if it's subconscious, is you're acting like you're a threat and they're a threat to you. Yes, I can still see that.
That's right, though. You're right.
And you're being conditioned, and we have been conditioned to think that way. Now, if you don't wear a mask, you get evil looks from people like you are trying to murder them.
I still don't, though.
You still don't?
Here in New Hampshire, we don't do that. Everyone wears masks, but nobody bothers me.
Maybe you just don't pay attention, man.
That's probably what it is. I don't care if you give me a face or not.
Yeah.
No, but go ahead. Keep going. Keep going.
But just so like our identities are being stripped from us in every physical way.
Yeah.
And it's on purpose. Like there's no other rationale for it. There's no other rationale why you don't separate boys and girls' clothes for anymore. Even if you're supporting transgender people.
Makes no sense.
It makes no sense except they're trying to remove everything that makes us individuals and make us this meme. And we better resist it because, in my opinion, and this might go into the conspiracy theory segment again, it's a lot easier to remove people and send them to concentration camps like's happening in the world today when no one is differentiated from anyone else and it's just you're just a variable. You're not a person. That's what I think they're doing.
You know, why do they shave your head when you go to a concentration camp? Why do they do all that kind of stuff? I mean, it takes a part of your humanity away. Everyone looks the same. Everyone has a uniform. You know what I mean? It's like, everyone is the same. Everyone's just a cog in the wheel and they all get treated the same. You know what I mean? There's no benefits, no nothing, no extra. It's just, that's just how it is. It's all part of the scam. It's all part of the system. And we're all being like groomed for that right now. And so again, we talk about this all the time. You think it's just a mask. Okay. But that would be like somebody saying to the pedophile, well, he just has his hand on her head. Like, it's not that big of a deal. Yeah. He's grooming her though. You understand what the pedophile's doing. Yeah, it's not the end of the world for him to have his hand on her leg. That's not the end of the world. You know, even good fathers do that, you know, pat their sons on the leg. But pedos do that because they're grooming them for something else. Yeah. The masks and all this stuff, they're grooming us as well. Yeah. And it's just, and then there's certain people that are just going to stand up to it. And Nathaniel's asking, how do you find businesses that don't do masks? You just don't wear one in. That's how you do it, man. Like, I know you're not going to like that answer, but you just walk into the business without the mask. And when they say, hey, can you put on the mask? Well, you know, I don't do that. And then you see where it goes from there. you know what I mean? If they tell you get off my property, then you know. Normally they don't though.
And seriously, we need to get really good and used to confrontation and conflict. Because I'm not even saying we need to get good at the escalating of conflict. Like, no, we need to be good at conflict and being able to de-escalate it. Like, one of the things that I had to learn back in the day, and people laugh every time I tell people this, but one of the jobs I used to have was I was a head of security for an event center. And it was just such a joke because I'm such a jokester and I'm not like that hard guy at all, right? I don't take much seriously. And quite honestly, I would get out of fights from Samoans when I would tell them they couldn't sneak in their drinks. They would threaten to beat me up. And instead of like fighting back and trying to be hard, I would say, yeah, man, I really don't want you to beat me up either, but that's the rules. And they would laugh because what are you going to do? Like, I'm obviously not being threatening and I'm not trying to fight them, but I have a job to do. And they would actually respect that. But so there was conflict, but I got really good at not leading it to where I was going to get my face pounded in by someone 300 pounds heavier than me. And that's what we'd be doing with the push, with the masks and what our government's doing. And even when we have discussions about religion where we feel uncomfortable about it, is we need to have a game plan going into it and think about how can we, in a calm way where we're not going to be out of our comfort zones, that we can de-escalate the situation. And so like when you do walk into a business and try to see if they will let you do business there or not, because you can't call them. They all say you are face mask is required.
Calling doesn't work.
No, and it's not because they like are trying to trick you. It's they're trying to cover their own butts so they don't get sued or they don't get in trouble. So that's just not an option. Yeah.
Right. They don't want a Yelp review. Call this business and he said, you know what I mean? None of that. So the thing is, what you do is you walk in and you know they either tell you, hey, could you put a mask on or not? And most of the time where I'm at, they don't say anything. But if they do, and you say, nah, I don't do the mask thing, that's usually enough to be like, okay, you know, that'll be the end of it. But, you know, if they're like, well, get the heck off my property, whatever, this and that, then you got your answer. It's like, they don't want your money, then you don't give them your money. It's
and you just smile simple. And say, okay,
no problem.
You got it.
You know, this is your store, not mine. Right. You know what I mean?
And that's even meaningful though, because they're seeing a tangible example of them losing business because they made their stand. Opposed to if you just never do it, then they're not going to think I'm losing business because I'm taking this hard stand on masks. But the more people that they have to turn away, that's going to have an effect on these businesses. They're hurting a lot of these. I'm not talking about the corporate like Costco. I mean, you just might as well not go because they intimidated my wife and they like stopped her cart and they held her from going through. It's like, it was a mess. But the little stores are your best bet. The ones that are like have meaningful need for your business.
Yeah, and they're struggling already because of the virus situation. So the chances of them like really freaking out at you are pretty low. And if they do, then it is what it is. I mean, it's their place, not yours, you know?
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, you can, and if you feel comfortable, I would recommend even talking to them about it. Oh, so did you hear that New York, they now are requiring 2-face masks? Is that where we're going to go? Like, when does it stop? Like, how are we going to stop this if we don't just stop doing it? Like, you could have those kinds of questions with them and see if they'll engage. I mean, it's the same kind of skills that we need when we're evangelizing. So we as Christians should be really good at this stuff. Like, we should be able to ask probing questions about something to get people to think, because that's part of evangelism.
Yeah. I wonder sometimes how much of the fact that I don't get any kind of pushback at all is the fact of how I look. Like, I kind of look like a psychopath when I walk into a store, because I'm kind of like, you know what I mean? I'm like the only carnale in the entire state. So they're like, I don't know about that guy.
That's a good tip. Yes, if you don't want to live under these restrictions anymore, if you're a minority, go up to the Northeast, Maine, Portland, all those places. And they probably won't bother you. They won't know what to say. They'll be scared of being called racist or something. Right?
That might be what it is, man. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. What else is there? Oh, and Gavin, this is an encouraging story. Gavin Newsom's petition for recall hit 1.8 million signatures.
And what was it? 1.5 they needed?
They needed 1.5. They always like to get a little more because there's a whole bunch that always gets, fake and stuff. Unless it's the 2020 election, then they're all accepted.
Then it doesn't matter. Then everything
doesn't matter,
no matter what.
Yeah. If it was the 2020 election, they would already have 3 million signatures. Quite honestly,
3 million of the same signature over and over again, and no audit.
No audit whatsoever. And I wanted to share that as an encouraging story, because if California can do this to a governor that is Democrat, right? Maybe New York, but there's no crazier state between California and New York.
No.
And so if you're in a state that doesn't have a Ron DeSantis, or is in a state where you can't go around places like 80 does with crazy eyes without a mask, why don't you pray about starting a petition to recall your politicians? It doesn't even have to be the governor. You could start with your mayor. You could start with your sheriff if these are elected officials. I know it changes from state to state, but this is an actionable, meaningful step that we can take now within the legal process to make change. Just an idea.
I like it.
Yeah. Yep. Did we talk about the committee strategy too? I talked about it on my How to Build a TED show.
We did. We talked about that. Yep.
So that's another option as well. I like giving people options on what to do. What is this last one? I'm going to read this one. Justin, U.S. Capitol Police Chief says militia groups want to blow up the Capitol and kill as many members as possible when Biden delivers his State of the Union address. I want to talk about this for one, because I wanted to ask, what do you guys think in the comments? And in AD, what do you think? Do you think he's going to give a State of the Union address?
I think his hologram will. I think it'll be the hologram, the hologram Joe Biden.
Yeah, because that's why I brought up Tupac before. He walked on stage and was able to walk all around the stage. So it's not like you have to, like we do in front of our cameras, or you won't be able to see us. They have the technology so well where he could literally walk through the chambers. But it would be interesting though to see if they would do the handshakes like they normally do, and they do those fake oh hi, how you doing? Yeah, no, hi Senator, and they kind of go through and they greet all the people down the row. I don't know if they would do that or not. It would be interesting to watch. If he doesn't do that and does the State of the Union, then I would say for sure it's this technology.
We gotta pay attention. When is the State of the Union supposed to happen?
They haven't set a date yet.
Oh man, they gotta do it. I can't wait to see the analysis of the hologram.
Oh my gosh, that would be so good. But could you just imagine though him doing an hour speech? He doesn't do anything close to that. Do anything close to that.
Not to mention that they do it at 9 o'clock usually. That's way past his bedtime.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, his whole schedule, he doesn't have anything in the afternoons. It's all morning schedules from what I've heard. So yeah, that would be really interesting. But the thing is this is the same tactic that I've noticed from the critical race theory people that we've seen is now they're saying that militia groups are going to blow up the Capitol and kill as many members as possible. There's no specifics or generality. There's not like a specific group that's a threat, like the Taliban or the Proud Boys or something. Like they are going to take the same thing that we've been facing with CRT, and the people are saying there's systemic racism everywhere, pastors are racist everywhere, but they'll never give specific examples. They're going to start doing that with us with domestic terrorism, I bet.
Here's the thing about that the big Eva guys, they're right on their tail with that domestic terror. That's like they can't say that, but they're just like in their ecstasy right now, thinking about the domestic terrorists, Christian nationalists out there. Mm-hmm. They can't wait to write their think pieces. And so, yeah, of course they're going to do that. It's going to be nameless, faceless, completely unverifiable threats that of course, all the usual suspects, it's Trump as well. They're all responsible for it. Mm-hmm. That's how they do these. That's how these totalitarians do these things. They make stuff up. They have fake, false flag events and all this kind of stuff. And then they crack down on your liberty, your rights. Maybe that's the use case for Bitcoin. We're going to need it because we won't be able to engage in regular commerce.
Yeah, I know. I was messaging you about that, but then I saw that you actually even commented on it. That might be the viable thing. Yeah. If they do start cutting us all off from our banks, that might be the saving grace for us.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Because on my show today, I said there definitely are some use cases for Bitcoin. And I do think that the one that is actually interesting to me is the one that they're the most scared of, which is like the black market stuff. Mm-hmm. That all the official people talk about how it's used in black market transactions, which is true. Of course it is. But that could be good or bad. Like black market isn't necessarily bad. It could be bad, but it could also be people that are just forced into it. Mm-hmm. I can't buy, my sausage, my spiced Italian sausage on the regular market. It's too expensive. Plus it has preservatives. I just want the regular stuff got to get on the black market. Raw milk is sold in the black market in many places because for some reason the government says you can't have raw milk. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So it's not bad to buy raw milk on the black market. So you got to buy it in Bitcoin.
Yeah, I think that's totally going to happen. And honestly, it kind of made me a little comfortable. And for those of you on Inside Baseball or if want Inside Baseball, so I send 80, we're going to be talking about things that I think are going to be interesting. We get to probably about half of it usually. And I was watching this show. I'm like, oh, we should totally talk about this because, that's going to be our solution if we get kicked out of banks. And then 2 seconds later, he talks about it. I'm like, oh, never mind. So I just thought that was funny. I'm like, oh, never mind. I should have just waited to the end of your show before I proposed something. Actually heard you out. But
there you go.
All right. Apparently, we launched an airstrike on Syria. Yes, we did.
Yeah, why not?
Is that
normally
surprise?
Happens?
Yeah.
Yeah, you get a Democrat in office, the bombs start dropping, of course.
Right. I was going to say it took Joe Biden a little over a month to do something that Trump never did, but Trump did launch missiles into Syria. If you remember, the chemical chlorine attack on the kids, and then he did launch missiles into Syria really early on.
That's right.
But I think it's a little different, and I could be wrong. I don't know. But I think to me, that was them challenging Trump to see if he would actually break his red line like Obama did. I don't even know what the Syrians have done in this case. Right? I get it.
What haven't they done, Matt? Just seriously. I'll never forget this, Matt. Let me just tell a quick story.
Okay.
So I had this Democrat friend who was like a hardcore Democrat. In fact, one day he's so Democrat that one day I was reading a Bill O'Reilly book and I left it on the couch near the fireplace at my fraternity house and he threw it in the fire. What a jerk.
No, he didn't.
Not. I was sleeping at the time. He threw it in the fire.
Like a typical liberal. No confrontation.
Anyway, so he would always rip George Bush or something for bombing so-and-so country, whatever.
Bush lied, people died mantra.
Yeah, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And then Obama gets elected and ratchets up every one of the wars, right? Every one of them is ratcheted up instantly. And I'll never forget what he said when I said, hey, what's the deal here? Like, is your boy, He said, yeah, but Obama's a good guy, so he must know something we don't.
Oh.
What? That's what you're going to tell me?
Oh, that's a Democrat QAnon.
That's the scam, man. What a scam.
My gosh. Don't worry, patriots are in control. Obama patriots.
Don't worry. The Obama Patriots.
Oh man. Oh,
It's
here's
crazy,
another.
though.
Here's
The
another.
non-
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say my other conspiracy theory is that Obama really is the one making all the calls in the White House right now, because he's the only president who didn't leave DC after he left office. He bought a house there. He put a skiff in his house, which is usually only in embassies, which is prevents anyone from spying on you, and it's where you have like top secret conversations and stuff. And every single person that Joe Biden's putting into his administration are the Obama administration people. And the policies are all the exact same.
So instead, what you're saying is that instead of a white supremacist, we have a black supremacist in the office.
Yes.
A black white supremacist.
A black white. Yeah. So that,
Speaking of black and white, you'll appreciate this. My brother just gabbed something that I think you'll really like.
Oh, good.
Andrew Torba posted a screenshot from an Oreo tweet that said something about trans people. And Torba's comment is, "Stop buying products from the enemy." And my brother's comment is, "Gab's next product innovation, freedom of speech cookies."
I hope they have the Thin Mints. I hope they come out with the Thin Mints first.
That'd be good. Freedom of speech Thin Mints. Yeah, those are
Yes.
good. Those are the best kind of freedom Oreo.
Yeah, for sure. Oh my gosh, that'd be funny.
By the way, I could easily get canceled for what I just said. Speaking of black and white, and then I started talking
Where are
about
you going to
Oreos.
get canceled? We're not on anywhere that gets canceled anymore.
That's a good point. We can't get canceled. Well, I guess YouTube could still do it.
Yeah, I guess.
Who cares?
You're gonna have to stop that eventually.
Their algorithm only monitors the first like 10 minutes of the show, and then you could say whatever you want at the end.
Really?
Well, not really, but like, but the I think a lot of the automated ones, they really just monitor the beginning to see what you're up to.
Interesting. Well, I'm still getting videos removed. They're still giving me. They're like, "You're not gonna be able to post for another month," and I'm just laughing. I'm just Psalmsing it up.
Cares?
Like, I'm not
Jimmy
posting
Crack
anymore.
Corn, and I don't care.
Exactly. But I have to say this too. This is another added benefit of getting rid of Twitter and Facebook. It's just having one social media site to go to is so nice.
Yeah, it's you got a lot more time back in your day, don't you?
Yeah, a lot more time. It's a wonderful thing. All right, thank you for everyone for joining us. That was not named, but I do know the name of the title of the show is going to be something about AD thinks we should be tender. Thank you for everyone who supported us in the super chats, guys. You guys are such a blessing. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you.
Yeah, AD is going to be able to repair his wall behind us. And if you missed this live recording, you can see us next week, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time on Thursdays. And then we're on the podcasting world and Gab TV Friday whenever I post the show. So we will talk to you next week. Have a great week. God bless.
God bless.